Happy Monday. I'm on this like 3 a.m. sleep schedule, starting to prep for Philippines-ish, some in-between time, even though I'm going to the Philippines, probably January now. Mom said it's typhoon season, so I'm not going November, December as originally planned. But this election stuff, and granted, I didn't get politically curious until 2020. The last person I voted for was Obama. Last real kind of vote. After that, I voted one more time for Kanye West to stay out of it as an avoidant. I was dating a woman at the time who was like, if you vote for Trump, we can't date, essentially, something like that. And my family was hardcore Trump, and I was like, well, I don't know who's right. I don't really know. I don't really care about this. And Kanye can't do any worse. That's what I was thinking. I was like, an entrepreneur, somebody who's come up, can't do any worse than these slimy politicians. Let's give it a shot. So fast forward 2020, how COVID happened, all this stuff. Hearing more and more of my circles talk about Trump and all that. And then so I was like, okay, I think you guys make logical sense here. This is practical. Yeah, the last presidency was maybe a little better in terms of the economy, this and that, versus this one. So that's the rabbit hole I was going down. And then all the hate from the blue side, the Democrats were like, oh my God, I can't even have a discussion. Like, what is wrong with you guys? The Trump supporters are all very like matter of fact, and that I've talked to in person. But seeing this documentary last night and yesterday about morning-ish, it made me realize that there is this undertone that has been going, and it feels like it's smoke and mirrors on the surface of like, hey, because on the surface, it kind of looks like Trump is the better option. Just as an alien, as somebody who has not been political, like on the surface, the media, the this and that, like, okay, Trump seems like the reasonable choice. But then when you see that he has aligned and these Christian nationalists and the January 6th thing, the groups of people there were not there were some practical Trump supporters and all that there, but the violent ones, I think they were really fueled by religious, their perceived religious right. And this undertone and this growing uprising of racism, and I guess like these marches, these KKK things, like Trump is dividing on purpose. I also was very disappointed in the Joe Rogan interview that he did. He had the opportunity in 3 hours to really talk about how he's going to change the country. But that interview kind of taught me he's not trying to sway the blue side necessarily. He's just playing, it feels like he's playing a game. Like that interview was greasy. He just kept weaving and weaving and weaving and didn't really answer many questions, and many hard-hitting questions. That's how I felt about it. And he tried to ask for Joe's endorsement, and Joe didn't give it. But what else about the Trump thing? The Christian Nationalists, this Heritage Foundation, the links and the ties from 50, 60 some years ago, and the general direction of the Republican Party is frightening. Frightening in that as a 38-year-old immigrant, born in the Philippines, U.S. citizen, raised in America, it's frightening in that when I'm in my 50s or 60s, I don't want to be in an America that is a dictatorship or being terrorized from within or terrorized from so many foreign enemies. And the direction that the country has been going makes me want to have a plan B if I can financially afford that, like, I don't know if that's the avoidant in me that wants to just leave, fight or flight. Is America worth fighting for? My whole life is here. My community, my family is spread. I have a couple family members in the Philippines that retired there. But the Philippines doesn't seem to be that great of an option because of China and the amount of American bases that got added to the Philippines in the last 12 months. And Australia. So Australia and the Philippines had an increase in U.S. bases because of this China tension. I also now understand that, nuclear war has been a threat for humanity since the 60s or something. So that's nothing new, but it seems closer now more than ever, especially since so many countries want to use nuclear energy instead of fuel or wind, and that makes it susceptible. Okay, you have a nuclear micro plant, well, why won't your enemies just bomb that? So these are my uneducated thoughts. These are my I don't claim to be educated about these things. I claim to currently be educating myself through these things, and used my platform of Facebook to do so very openly and transparently. I'm not going to pretend to know what this shit is. This is confusing as fuck. And I don't think there is a hard right answer. Because of the way that the media is designed in social media, the algorithms, and if you can step outside the bubble, step above as an alien, looking down on the earth and the planets and all that shit. But not on any drugs, by the way. No mushrooms, no weed. Not yet. But if you can step above, just for a second, this country we love so much, it's this two-party two-party government, right? And it's pick me, and then they fight, they bicker, they block each other, they do all these things. So our version of democracy is not designed to be collaborative. It's combative. By design. It's combative by design. And us as the little people, the middle class, the low income class, we're not the millionaires and the billionaires. If you are, dude, that's awesome. Please do a little bit extra for humanity. Please. But the middle class, what are we to do? It would be amazing if we could see beyond the combativeness and go, okay, I understand that you've been really fed this propaganda or, that. and I love you. Heart to heart, breath to breath. We are humans who don't want war. We are humans who, blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot to relate with. If you have kids or want kids, do you want the world to be a better place than when you were on it? How might your actions today influence the generations, or the atmosphere, or the environment for the future? Atmosphere and environment meaning like property, place, parks, safe spaces. Yeah, because again, I'm still of the stance of like 50% of the country is going to likely still be voting for Trump. Again, it's based on the media they're consuming, the information they're consuming. Bad Faith was a very great documentary for me. It does feel biased, of course, so I'll also want to see some other things. However, even with that bias, it feels like if I were a betting human, I think that the Democratic Party is better for our children than the Republican Party today. And that's hard to say because RFK Jr., the health stuff, like I was like, well, yeah, that makes sense. Why not? But how I can also see this, like whoever wins, whether it's blue or red, why don't you take your opponent's positions that were better for humanity or whatever and go ahead and implement them? Regardless of who wins, I think they should take the policies and talking points of both sides and see what is actually best, like for your children and your children's children. And I don't mean this billionaire kind of children and children. The children of the world. The children of the world. Yeah. Because again, it's not going to be a situation where 100% of the country is voting one way. So, despite the differences, regardless of how extreme or how right you feel in your decision of who you're voting for, can you make it a practice to still respect your neighbor, to show with action your honest respect for your neighbor? Based on political views. Now, if you got an asshole for a neighbor or some, whatever, like, don't fuck with that. But people who genuinely you feel are open. I mean, there are genuinely bad energies. There are people who want to inflict pain and rage, and then there are many people who don't. Okay, that's my coffee rant. Love me or don't. Goodbye.